Good morning. My name is Austin Wheat from the city's Geospatial Data Science Department. In responding to the heroin overdose epidemic we're having throughout the city, our department has started to make a GIS model to help predict areas in the future where we might see overdoses. We'd like to ask the city to help fund us in continuing this project to better the lives of the citizens throughout the city. So as you can see here, we have a couple maps giving a little background on the situation. This is a map of the country in general, showing just that it's an issue with youth, clearly in Arizona. More specifically throughout the city of Mesa, on the right we can see the density of the overdoses. The one on the bottom right is a little more honed in, and we can see the actual locations and how really they're concentrated to the western portion of the city. Here's some statistics on the epidemic throughout the state of Arizona. We can see that within the last 4 years, there's been a suspected 11,281 overdoses attributed to opioids. And then on this bottom right chart, we can see in Maricopa County particularly, that there's been over 1,000 overdoses just in 2019 alone. With the passing of the recent infrastructure bill, although we in our project will not be beneficiaries of those funds, we know that the city is looking to apply some of the funds they're going to receive to other departments such as transportation, and we'd like to hopefully in that shuffle receive some more of those monies and able to help us continue this model and development of an application that will help us deploy resources to areas that are overseen or that are forgotten. So some of the data sources that we've employed in our model up to this point come partially from the city itself. So our own data related to crime and particularly drug crimes, street center lines, police incidences, and street lights. Additionally, we pulled in data from an outside company called SafeGraph. So SafeGraph collects point of interest data throughout the nation. So they have just data on anywhere you might spend time. Particularly for this model, we pulled in data throughout the city of Mesa, relating to hospitals, bars, liquor stores, and rehab centers. The idea is hoping that we can create a model that'll see if these data sources have any correlation to where we've seen overdoses in the past that'll help us predict where we might see overdoses in the future. These are some correlation charts that show just that thing. Not the greatest way to look at it. We'll have some maps on the next slide that show it, but in particular the second correlation graph and the very last one with streetlights and drug crimes, those show that there is some correlation between overdoses and the locations of drug crimes and streetlights that we'd like to investigate a little further. Again, we can see the same thing mapped. We can see the middle top one here with the drug crimes. Clearly that's lit up, again, really concentrated in the western portion of the city. And then in the bottom right, we see streetlights. So there is some correlation spatially between where those have happened in the past. And we'd like to dig in a little deeper to see if that might be some things you can look for to predict the future. The second thing we do in creating a model is we then try to reduce the amount of errors that we have in our model. So not to dig into the weeds too much, but what we've done is employ what we call a Poisson model and did some cross-validation to reduce the amount of errors in our model. And we can see in these graphs and in the map, we've been able to, throughout our different iterations, reduce those the as we've moved along. We anticipate that while our operations center might not be as sexy as the one here on the right, that the data and then ultimately the model and application we develop will be consumed maybe quarterly or every 6 months via a mobile application that you see here on the left. Some of the use cases, while numerous, the two most important ones that we think of, one is emergency response, so finding areas that are not currently covered by a reasonable drive time area by ambulances and fire departments, fire trucks, and then helping deploy them to areas and maybe roam around or place new stations in those areas where overdoses happen but are not sufficiently covered in those drive areas. The second one is naloxone. We know here that in the state of Arizona, naloxone can be received over the counter. So partnering either with pharmacies to place new locations in these areas that where we're seeing high overdoses, or even, as some other states have done, placing vending machines with naloxone in these areas might help to curb the issue and save lives. So that's what we have today. Again, please, if you see fit, we'd really love to see some more funding come our way to help really develop this model and ultimately the application to save lives in Mesa. This is our contact information, and again, thank you very much for your time.